Yo, what up? It's Khalid Abdul Salam from the Peace Seekers. I'm back with another episode of the Peace Seekers podcast, man. Right in the flesh. Um, in the last episode, we talked about the scarcity mindset, but in this episode, it's going to get even deeper because we're going to be talking about trauma responses and how we respond to trauma, how people tend to respond to trauma in an unhealthy manner. We don't really heal from it. We just adjust around it instead of actually running right through it, breaking it down. In a lot of these episodes, the thought process behind them really comes from me having conversations with people in my personal life, my family, my friends, associates, things I see online. And so many times I see people actually making decisions out of trauma and not actually healing from the trauma. We just adjust our lives around it. Trauma responses could be observed in various different ways. It could be the things we say, the things we tell ourselves, the things we tell other people, right? It could be just how we live our day-to-day lives, you know. The first example that I want to give, let me get these damn headphones on. The first example that I want to give is, you know, a person who's very close to me in life, right? He actually experienced a high level of physical trauma. He got hit by a car, right? And fuck them niggas, by the way. But he got hit by a car, lived, but as a result of that trauma, now he adjusts his life around the trauma instead of actually dealing with the trauma and breaking it down. What does that look like? Well, you know, he tells me all the time, you know, when a car makes a sudden noise or a loud noise or he hears tires screeching, sometimes he jumps a little bit, right? Fear, PTSD, right? But he also said that he tends not to, if he has to cross the street, he tries not to cross in front of the car. He tries to cross behind the car, right? Now, the reason that this is important to note is because many people probably are saying, well, I could understand that, you know. I can understand why he would do that, you know. And I can understand why he does that, right? PTSD, fear, trauma, you know, his experience. He doesn't want to get hit by a car again, obviously, who would? But the thing that we have to understand is that this is not a healthy habit to build because you're not actually dealing with the trauma and overcoming the response is a response out of trauma. And he hasn't really overcome that trauma and that PTSD and that experience. He's adjusting his life around it. And the reason that this is a problem is because we tend to do this throughout our lives in general, right? And the problem is that the trauma is still there, which means you're still going to make decisions based on trauma. And oftentimes those decisions that we make are to absolve ourselves of experiencing the things we experienced before. And the intention is to try to avoid those feelings, avoid those fears. And we actually end up, in a sense, running away. We talked about in the scarcity mindset how to overcome that. And the way in which I said that I believe people should overcome it is by building a high level of competency so they can instill confidence in themselves. A part of building competency is learning new skills and also educating ourselves to where we actually understand the world around us. In reference to my homeboy, my brother from another, who got hit by a car, avoiding those situations where you can potentially get hit by the car by trying to go around it It's not that big of a deal, but the problem with it is that you are adjusting your life around the trauma. See, the crosswalk is meant to be crossed at, right? But because of his fear, he doesn't do that. So now you have to go above and beyond in order to get from point A to point B. Maybe he may wait to cross the street a lot longer, right? Whereas before, he might just run across the street. Car may be coming, but I could get across the street quick enough, right? That's where the competency and confidence comes in, even though that may not necessarily be the best decision to make. But the reality of it is we make those decisions because we have confidence in ourselves, right? And we're not fearful that we're going to get hit by the car. We have enough competency. We've ran enough, we are fast enough. We have enough skills and understanding of what our bodies can do. And we have confidence that we can get across the street fast enough to the point where we don't get hit by a car. But see, the difference is now your confidence is lacking as a result of the trauma. And instead of actually becoming more competent of the situation and scenario, you're adjusting your life around the trauma. Now you're at the whim, you're at the will of the trauma instead of being the person who makes the decision based off of what you need to do. You're making the decision based off of the things you can't control. Can't control whether or not this person hits you or does this or is drunk driving or whatever the case may be. You can't control that. So now you're trying to adjust yourself around a set of variables that you have no knowledge of. And what ends up happening? Now you wait 5 minutes to cross the road instead of just getting across the goddamn street and it takes 3 seconds. Now you're waiting 6 minutes to cross the road because it's traffic backed up. There are various different ways that this can exemplify itself. And I hope that people can begin to learn to understand where our trauma lies and the fact that we haven't actually overcome it. Even though it's been time that has progressed, that trauma is still there. It's still in your brain. It's still lying in wait. And it comes out every so often when you start to get close to a scenario that's similar to the scenario where you first experienced that trauma. We do this in relationships as well. You get your heart broken, right? And instead of actually healing from the heartbreak, we just try to avoid it, right? We don't commit. We don't fully commit to the relationship. We are 1 foot in, 1 foot out because it's easier to pull 1 foot out than it is to bring both of your feet out of the situation, right? We don't commit all the way. We don't give our all. We don't give the entirety of our heart to the individual, even though that's what makes relationships successful. We don't do that because we're moving out of fear, trauma, lack. So how do you overcome that? Again, competency, confidence. Same thing with the scarcity mindset. The scarcity mindset is just another example of these trauma responses. But the trauma response oftentimes ends up in us trying to avoid the situation in its entirety. And we adjust our lives around that. And it slows you down. It slows down your progress. It slows down your ability to grow and become the best version of yourself because you're so busy worrying about how to not feel that again versus strengthening yourself to where if a situation like that occurs again, you'll be strong enough to deal with it, right? It's mindset. It's a mindset shift that needs to occur, right? These traumatic experiences are not always extreme. Like getting hit by a car, that's extreme. A breakup sometimes can be extreme. Getting cheated on or whatever the case may be can be extreme. Sometimes it could be things that are subtle. Sometimes it could be things that are so deep rooted and so consistent. Like getting hit by a car, that's like a one-time thing, right? It happens in an instant. It's over in an instant, right? And then you deal with trauma for the rest of your life. Being shot happens in an instant. and then you have trauma for the rest of your life. You could see someone get shot. Happens in an instant. You do it like, oftentimes this is what we think about when we think about trauma. We think it's something extreme, and then no, it's not always extreme. It could be growing up in a single parent household. That has various ways in which it can traumatize a young kid. And for people who grow up in a single parent, who have grown up in a single parent household, you know, if you know, right? Your mom having to work 3 jobs, and when she gets home, she is too tired to help you with your homework, and your grades start slipping, and then you start getting picked on and called the dumb student. And, you know, all of these things become trauma. You know, all of these things are traumatic, even though they're subtle. Right? Obviously, getting shot would probably be more extreme than getting picked on, but nonetheless, it's trauma. I did an episode on, I can't even remember the damn title, but I did an episode about comparisons, and how when we compare things, we oftentimes do ourselves a disservice. Instead of actually using that to humble ourselves, we use it as a cop-out in order to not actually heal from the trauma, and not actually open up that door, open up that wound, and look deep inside ourselves and overcome it, right? Trauma is trauma. There's varying levels of it, various degrees, and sometimes some traumas hinder you more than others, but nonetheless, trauma is trauma, and it has a lasting effect. And the more time you spend trying to avoid your life around trauma instead of just running through the door, opening up the door and running through it and dealing with it, you just prolong it. It doesn't go away. It doesn't stop. It doesn't just disappear because time has passed. It doesn't. It's there. It's persistent. It's there to stay until you deal with it. It's no different than, I was having a conversation, I think one time, and we were talking about kids, and you know, one of the examples that I gave was, wow, I'll get to that in a second, because sometimes when I'm talking and I'm getting this out, things just become so clear to me. But I was having a conversation, and I asked, you know, if a kid spills something on the ground, or anybody, you know, if anybody spills something on the ground and you put a blanket over top of it, I think I gave an example like this before, but if you put a carpet or a rug over top of it, it doesn't go away. It's still there. You just can't see it. And that's the same exact thing with trauma. And all of these different aspects of life and mindset, they exist in the smallest aspects of our lives to the largest aspects of our lives. Trauma doesn't just disappear if you cover it up or run from it. As long as you let that spill sit, it will be there. It will be there forever, indefinitely. It will be there forever if you don't clean it up. You could walk all over that rug. You could switch out the rug and put another one down. It's still going to be there. It doesn't disappear. And the same thing goes for trauma. And so many times we run from trauma when you could just deal with it. It takes more effort to run, to have a lifelong time of running, versus taking a month, 2 months, 3 months, a year to actually sit down with a therapist or a licensed professional and work through your problems. Do you want to run for the rest of your life, or do you want to spend a couple years of your life dealing with your trauma? Which one? Scarcity mindset. Let's go back. Let's reverse it. When you make decisions out of lack, right? I don't have money to put food on the table, so what am I going to do? Do I want to sit back and grind for 8 months and kind of be at the bottom a little bit and work at McDonald's, but go to school at the same time so I could come out with, go to trade school for 6, 7, 8 months, come out with a trade so I can make $75,000, $80,000 while I'm working at McDonald's? Or should I say, F the McDonald's job, right? And I'm going to go and start selling packs instead, because it's fast money, it's quick, it's right there. I can just get it and I can go and I can make sure my kids are fed and I can make sure my girl's good. And I got the cars and I got the clothes and I got all of the things that everybody respects in my community right now, even though I'm taking penitentiary penitentiary chances every god day. Wrong button. I'm going too crazy. Keep taking penitentiary chances. That penitentiary is fucking me up. You know what I'm saying? Keep taking, I'm going to say it one more time. Keep taking penitentiary chances or grind for 6, 7, 8 months while I'm working a job that people don't really respect. But at the end of the day, it's getting the bare minimum for me and my kids. And then 8 months from now, I'm in a much better position. Do you take time? Do you take the time now, or do you run forever? Do you sit back and take the amount of time that it takes to heal now, or do you run for the rest of your life? Which one? Because I'm gonna tell you, running for the rest of your life is gonna take far more effort, far more energy, far more stress than just dealing with it right now today. Facts. Running from your problems for the rest of your life is gonna take way more energy. So which one is the better decision? But for so many of us, we only make the decision that's based on fear. This is trauma, and this is us. We're all around it. We don't want to come anywhere near the trauma. When we could just knock the trauma out, get it done and over with. But we don't do it that way. We do it the opposite way. How do we run from trauma? What are some examples? Because I know y'all want to understand what I mean. I gave y'all the example of my homeboy who got hit by the car. Cool. All right. How else do we run from trauma? We don't commit to relationships. How else do we run from trauma? We sit in our room all goddamn day watching Netflix, eating pizza, ordering food to go on DoorDash, and we don't actually deal with it. We can't sit with ourselves. A lot of people can't sit with themselves. A lot of people don't know how to be alone. A lot of people claim they're loners and claim they're good. They don't need anybody, and that we all need somebody. That in itself is a trauma response. Trying to say you don't need people, that's not human nature. It's not how you were built, born, bred at all whatsoever. You needed someone to change your diaper as a child. You needed someone to feed you as a child. These are the examples that we need to start to be able to pick up on, because life just goes in circles. The examples are there no matter where you look. You could look out and you could look outside right now. These buildings, these cars, they all need something, and human beings are the same. We need each other to survive. We need it. So to act like you don't need people is a trauma response. You've probably been let down. You probably grew up in a single parent household. You might have been molested as a child and nobody was there to protect you. Hey, I've experienced this. I told y'all I was going to get deep on this one. Y'all thought I was playing. I experienced this. I experienced being taken advantage of as a child. And instead of being asked what the hell was going on with me because I was lashing out and doing a whole lot of stupid ass shit, I was made to feel bad about it, right? Not feel bad about it specifically, but I was made to feel bad about my behavior, and my behavior was a trauma response. But the adults around me, the people who were there, who were supposed to supervise me, right? I grew up in a single parent household. My dad wasn't there. My mom worked 2-3 jobs my whole life. Even to this day, she does, right? My grandparents, I had grandparents, but they were grandparents. They're not my parents. They weren't there. The ones who were there, the ones who were supposed to protect me weren't there to protect me. And as a response, I was lashing out. I was doing a lot of dumbass things, but it's all trauma responses. We run. He's a runner. He's a track star. He gonna run away. He gonna get far. Shout out to Joe. Shout out to Joe Baker. You know what I'm saying? But the thing of it is that so many times we run. We run. We run for the hills instead of actually dealing with the trauma. Man, come on. Let's get to it. What are some other examples? You don't commit. You run away from your problems. You don't give your all in situations. You procrastinate. You sit in your room all goddamn day. I'm hitting the button and I'm still cussing. You sit in your room all day doing nothing. Not becoming a better version of yourself. Watching TV. Investing all the time, effort, and energy that you have into a goddamn Netflix series. I ain't even hitting the button on that. Into a goddamn Netflix series instead of getting up and working on your mental health, working on your physical health, working on your financial situation. We don't. We run. We smoke weed all day long. We drink all day long. Pop pills all day long. You're not even living your life. You have to change. This how much trauma people experience. And this what happens in our community specifically when you look like this. We run from trauma so much. We have to literally take things to change the way we see, perceive, and experience the world. We have to go above and beyond to increase our serotonin levels, to increase our dopamine levels. And we do that by doing what? We go to the bars, we go to the clubs, we drink, we smoke weed, we pop pills, we smoke cigarettes. We do all of these things. We have sex so goddamn much. We have sex with everything walking. Anything you could get your hands on, you have sex with. We don't feed ourselves with productive relationships. We don't get married. We don't have kids. Let me go back. We have kids. We got a whole bunch of goddamn kids, but we don't get married. We don't create nuclear families. We run for the hills. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah, we run, we smoke, we pop pills. We do all of these things all day long. You're not even truly experiencing the world the way it was meant to be experienced because you're changing the way your brain works. Literally. You're not living off the natural dopamine the body experiences by going out into the world. You're not experiencing the sunlight because you're cooped up in your room all goddamn day. So you got to smoke weed to increase your dopamine levels and your serotonin levels. Even though when you go outside, you naturally create this because of the vitamin D that you get from the sun. People don't even understand these things. We get cooped up and we become like turtles. We live in the shell. Instead of going out and running through the trauma, putting your hands on the trauma, going to work on the trauma. We don't do that. We sit by and lie and wait. We tell ourselves that we're strong. You ain't fucking strong. You're weak. Let's be real. Let's call it what it is. We call ourselves strong when really you're weak. Calling yourself strong is a trauma response because when you're really strong, you don't even got to say on it. You just stand on it, nigga. Yeah, I'm talking to you. When you're really strong, you don't need to speak on it. It's known. It's well known. You step into the room and you know, and people know you're strong, but you're not strong. You're weak. And you keep telling yourself you're strong. I had to be strong all my life. You ain't have to be strong all your life. You've been weak all your life because you ain't dealt with the trauma yet. And now as an adult, you're a weak adult now. You were a kid when you were supposed to be weak as a child because you're learning and you're going through the motions. And now as an adult, you're a weak adult because you haven't dealt with the trauma. I ain't taking it easy on y'all today on this one. I'm going to be real. I'm not. You want to know why I'm not? Because I don't take it easy on myself. I looked myself in the mirror every single day when I was depressed and I said, you're weak. Do you want to be weak for the rest of your life? You want to be suicidal for the rest of your life? Do you want to end your life now? In your teenage years, you ain't even really lived yet. Do you want to end your life now, bruh? Or you want to overcome these things and become a better version of yourself? And that's what I'm doing. And that's what I did. I'm doing it every single day. It's a continuous process. But instead of adjusting around the trauma, I'm not adjusting around nothing but God. I'm not adjusting around nothing but God. That's the only thing I'm adjusting around. I'm not adjusting around no trauma. I'm not adjusting around no man, no woman. I'm adjusting around God, and that's it. Period. What do I look like as a grown ass man adjusting around some trauma? Oh, I experienced this as a kid, so now I'm just trying to avoid that situation as best as I possibly can. Yeah, I'm going to avoid the situation, but I'm going to build myself up enough to where my lifestyle is productive enough to where I'm never caught in these type of situations again. I grew up in the hood. Anybody who knows me, you know. We grew up in East Haven. East Haven ain't nothing but goddamn trauma. Every part of it. Every part of our culture is traumatic. Gang banging, killing each other, shooting each other, stabbing each other, robbing each other, having sex with this dude's girl down the road because that's this dude's girl. And you don't like him, so you're going to try to talk to his chick. It's trauma. Every part of it. You think that growing up, I didn't try to adjust I had to be the toughest guy. I had to be hard. I had to walk with a certain cadence. I had to speak with a certain cadence. I had to shake hands in a certain way and do certain hand signs. When I took my pictures, I had to take my pictures doing certain things with my hands because this is where I'm from. And the reality of it is we're all weak. We're all weak. We're adjusting around the trauma. The trauma of growing up without a dad. The trauma of growing up without a mom. The trauma of growing up in a family that didn't really give you the love and protection that you deserved as a child, because that's what you are, a child, something that needs to be protected, cultivated, and grown and shaped, molded into greatness. But you didn't get that as a kid. So we adjust around the trauma. I'm not really a tough guy, to be honest with you. I'm not. But as a kid, I always put on the front like I was tough. But I wasn't. I was weak. I was never prepared to be tough. My dad didn't teach me how to fight. My dad didn't teach me my way around a firearm. My dad didn't teach me how to, the most tough thing you could do as a man is not even put yourself in a situation to where you need to use your hands or use a gun, but to also prepare yourself in silence behind closed doors to where if you are in a situation that you can't control, that you know what to do, that's the most gangster thing you can do as a man. But we weren't prepared for that. We were prepared the way we were taught as men coming up. And if you know, you know. We were taught that every single situation needs to be addressed with violence. All of them. Every single one. It don't matter. We don't have any picks. Every single situation gets addressed with violence. That's how we were taught. We weren't taught to, you know what, bro, it ain't even that serious. You know what, man? It ain't even that serious. I'm gonna just go ahead and go about my bit. Oh, you stepped on my shoe. Shit, it is what it is. I'll get some more. We weren't addressed to handle our situations like that. We adjust around the trauma. The trauma is the way we were raised. The trauma is when you were a kid and a situation happened and you were embarrassed. You weren't taught as a kid to shrug it off and walk away. You were taught, oh, he disrespected you. And if you don't get on him, we gonna disrespect you. We gonna disrespect you by putting you down, calling you soft, calling you a. Oh, I could just hit this all day for all the things you get called, right? You get called so many different names for just walking away from an altercation. That's trauma. That's traumatic. Walking away from a situation don't make you soft. That makes you stronger. The weakness comes when you can't control your emotions and you feel like everything has to get hit with violence every single time. That's the weakness. Trauma responses. Every single day we get stuck. We're not actually healing. We're not actually overcoming. That's why I made the Overcome Tea, peaceseekersbrand.com. We're not actually overcoming. We're adjusting around the trauma. The trauma's in the center. We're all around it. The trauma should be gone. We should put hands and feet on trauma. We should destroy trauma so much to the point where it's non-existent. We should destroy trauma so much that when another traumatic experience comes around, the trauma turns around and runs away. That's how much you need to overcome your traumas. But nah, we run. We run. I've been here. And still to this day, there are times where I find myself running sometimes. And I have to remind myself, look at everything that you've overcome. Why are you running? All the things you've overcome in life, suicidal thoughts, depression, anxiety, growing up in the hood, being broke, relationships, relationship drama with niggas. You've overcome all of this. Why are you still running? And then I get back into my confidence, right? By building competence. Let me tell y'all something. Let me get on my, hold on. Let me tell y'all something, man. One of the worst things about growing up in a single parent household as a man is you never experience true leadership from a man. Because when the situation arises where a leader needs to make a decision for you to witness so you can learn, the man isn't there for you to actually learn it. And men and women make decisions from completely different perspectives. So you don't actually learn how to be a leader. So when I've been in relationships, sometimes I've had a fear, or I've made decisions out of lack because I didn't have those leadership skills and abilities. So what do I do now? Do I just adjust around the trauma? Do I not commit at all to a relationship? Do I not want to get married? Do I not want to have kids and have a family because I didn't learn leadership growing up? No. I increase my competence. I increase my level of competence. I study. And it's not just reading books, but that's a part of it. It's listening to people actually talk about leadership, listening to seminars about leadership, listening to stories of men who were put in the most extreme situations, such as war, have to make decisions on the fly in order to protect themselves and protect the people around them and the people that they are leaders of. I do this on a daily basis. Surrounding yourself with men who are leaders. It's a little bit hard these days because there's not a lot of them out there. But when I find them, I try to listen and I try to pick up on the things that they do, the way they talk, the way they speak to people, the way they walk, the way the leadership skills they possess just in their physique, in the way they carry themselves. When they go in the gym, why are they getting in the gym? So they could be physically fit enough to where they can protect and serve their people. That's why I'm in the gym now. Should I have learned these things as a kid? Absolutely, but I didn't. So what am I going to do now? Am I going to make excuses? Oh, I should have learned this as a kid. My dad wasn't around, so I don't know. No. I'm going to get up every single day and I'm going to try my absolute best. I'm going to give it 100% of me every single day to be a better leader. And I might be behind the curve a little bit, but I'm not going to allow my trauma and my fear to slow me down anymore. I'm going to keep it pushing. I'm going to push right through trauma. I'm going to push right through it. I'm going to push right through that pressure. What Steven Jackson say? We make love to pressure. I'm pushing straight through it every time. Maybe not every time. Sometimes I might fail. Sometimes the pressure might overcome me a little bit, but I'm going to get back on my feet and I'm going to get up and I'm going to keep going. Minor setback for a major comeback. I done experienced so many things in my life that I could be here all day. I done gave y'all a big piece of me with the abuse that I experienced as a kid, sexually. I'm not gonna say who, right? That's a different story for a different day, possibly a different platform. But the reality of it is, I experienced that, and it took me years. I experienced this shit probably before 7 or 8 years old. I'm 25 now, and it still bothers me at times. But I'm going to work through it, and I'm going to overcome it one day at a time. I'm not going to continue to adjust my life and avoid conversations about things that happened to me that were uncomfortable, because the first step of healing at all is voicing it. That's why I said in the 5 steps to emotional literacy, therapy is the number one thing. Number one. Everything else you can do in various order, but the first thing you need to do is put a face to your problems. But we don't want to put a face to the problems we run. We don't even talk about it. That's why I'm being an open book with y'all on this episode, because I want y'all to understand that you could do this shit too, bro. I'm no different than anybody, bro. I'm no different than any of y'all at all. I'm no stronger or weaker than any of y'all. I'm just a man out here trying to be the best version of himself, just like you should try to be the best man or woman. And if it takes me putting my flaws and my experiences out there for y'all to learn from, and hopefully, I'm sure probably, well, I won't say hopefully, I hope none of y'all can relate to this, but I know a lot of y'all can, because people that I've talked to behind closed doors about these things that have admitted to me that it happened to them too. And they never told anybody but me. And I never told anybody. Well, I guess everybody, I told the world now, but it's hard, man. It's hard to overcome these things. And I know that it's way easier said than done, but I'm telling you, it's possible, bro. But you can't keep adjusting yourself around trauma. You got to put your foot on trauma's neck if you want to overcome it. You have to. It's the only way. It is the only way to overcome trauma is if you put your foot on trauma's neck and say, get the out of here. Trauma, ain't no space for you in my life and in my brain. Trauma is not. You ain't living rent free. You ain't living rent free in my brain, trauma. It's over with. You getting evicted today. Yep. I wish I had the too short button. Yeah. You out of here. But in all actuality, man, this episode been a lot longer and a lot more aggressive than I planned it to be. The reality of it is this. Trauma doesn't just leave, pack up, and go out. It doesn't just pack up and leave. It sits there. It gets comfortable. It gets real comfortable. It makes a nice little space in the back of your brain. And anytime you come anywhere near it, it could be it could be something you're watching on TV. We all been here. Yeah. Hold on. Before we go, we all been here. We watching something on TV and something traumatic that happened to us, we relive it. It could be a person walking past you and they smell like something that was in the room or around the area where you experienced your trauma, and it reminds you of it, and you get that uneasy feeling. You get the feeling in your stomach. You get that pit in your stomach. You feel a way about it. And if you're tired of that, put your foot on trauma's neck. Tell them, get the fuck up out of here. And start doing what you need to do to overcome that trauma, and do it every single day. Give it your absolute best every single day. Your best today might not be the same as your best yesterday. Your best tomorrow might not be the same as your best today, but give it your best every single day to overcome that trauma. And I promise you, and I don't make too many promises, but I promise you, one day that pain will subside. It's been another episode of the Peace Seekers podcast, man. I'm still down here at ATS Shotty. You know what I'm talking about? No cap. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking like that because I'm in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? I'm in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? You dig. You know what I'm saying? I'm in Atlanta right now. I'm having a decent time. I'm really just relaxing and preparing for this work I'm about to have to put in when I get back to the city. But the reality of it is, trauma is trauma. It'll always be trauma until you kick it out your life. That's the reality. So with that being said, continue to tap in with me. Hit me in the DM. I'm sure some of y'all could probably relate. So, hey, let me know. This is a safe space. I don't tell people's business, right? You might need to get it off your chest. I might be the first person you ever told. And your secret is safe with me. For real. With that being said, it's your boy Khalid Abdul Salam. It's been another episode of the Peace Seekers podcast. Self-deletion hotline down in the description. If you know somebody who's planning on deleting themselves, talking about deleting themselves, or you and your brain feel like you want to delete yourself, call that hotline. peaceseekersbrand.com. 10% of every single purchase goes to help fight the stigma around mental health, depression, and anxiety, because I really care about y'all. And I want y'all to level up. With that being said, man, thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of my healing, my journey. I'm letting a lot out. I've let a lot out, and I'll continue to let a lot out because I want to be the best man I could be. And I want you to be the best man or woman that you could be. Because when we become the best versions of ourselves, we are able to increase the standard in our communities. And this is bigger than just me and you. It's all of us. We all play a part in the collective. We all play a part in building the collective and making our culture more respectable, making our culture better, making sure our kids don't grow up in single parent households, making sure we don't pass that trauma down to our children, because that's something I ain't even touch on. Hold on. We pass trauma down to the children too. They learn from us. They see us smoke weed. We might do it in the room behind closed doors, but they smell it. They know what's going on. And this changes their mindset. This changes their perspective about these things. Maybe it's more acceptable, maybe it's less acceptable, but nonetheless, we teach them to run. We teach them to run from their problems. We teach them not to voice it. We teach young boys that you got to be the biggest, strongest dude in the world. You got to be a giant. You got to be Goliath. When Goliath got slayed by David, this is what we teach these kids. Instead of teaching them to be David, we teach them to be Goliath, right? We tell ourselves that we're strong when we're really weak, and it's okay to be weak sometimes, but how do you overcome weakness? You overcome weakness by becoming stronger, not telling yourself you're stronger. Telling myself I'm strong doesn't build muscles on my body. I got to go to the gym and I have to put the work in order to become strong. That's how it goes in the real world. Put that work in so you don't pass that trauma down to your young boys and your young girls. Put that trauma to the side so you can create a better relationship with your girl, with the children of with the mother of your children. And you could be in the house every single day for your kids and be that man that the world needs. Be that man, be that leader that I lacked. Be that leader that my dad lacked. Be that leader that my dad's dad lacked because they couldn't pass it down to me. But now I'm trying to break the curse. I'm trying to be that man so my kids don't have to be me. They don't have to be me. They don't have to deal with the things that I had to deal with. They don't have to overcome the things that I had to overcome. That's why I'm doing it now for them. So when they go out into the world and they have kids of their own and they have kids of their own and so on and so forth, we can clean up this community because it's all about us. It ain't about I, it's about we. And if you really care about your people, you become a better version of yourself straight up. Because if you don't really care. I've gone too long, man. It's been a long ass episode. I'm too back, I'm too in, scarcity mindset, and now trauma responses. This is how it goes, right? And I thank you all for being a part of this, man. And I know this one gonna bring some feelings and some emotions out of people, but it's the real. And I wouldn't be me if I didn't give it to you real, raw, and uncut. You feel me? Straight like that, shouting. I'm in ATL with it. It's been your boy Khalid Abdul Salam, Peace Seekers Podcast. Thank you all for listening. And as always, man, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace and blessings of Allah be upon each and every one of you in this life. Deuces.